A very good evening to you tuned into Smart 24 TV, and thank you for joining us for this particular bulletin. My name is Ronnah Nahabwe with Winnie Nakawuki on the sign language. Of course, as we all know, we'd like to thank Ugandans that took their time today to celebrate the today that was set aside to dedicated to the life and service of the late Archbishop Nakawuki, who died in 2022, was born in Kitgum district, died on 27th in 1997 in a car crash, but majority believe he was murdered on orders of Idi Amin after he delivered a note of him protesting and unjustified killings and policies. We also do know that during Amin's reign, in 1971 and 1979, economic policies and expulsion of Asians brought a lot of chaos in regards to the state, as we know that the salaries and the wages declined by 90%.
Poor leader in the world, and my intention is to work for my people, but not for me. That is the reason why you know that if you check all banks all over the world, in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, in the United States of America, you will never find account belong to me, because I work for the people of Uganda.
Yeah, anyway, it's good. It's good for them to go.
Why?
They have sacked us enough.
Will you be taking over their businesses?
Yes, according to the government's help.
I like them.
You like Asians?
Yeah.
Are you sorry they're going?
Yeah, I'm sorry, because I like them. They can give us money in this market here. We are carrying for them baskets, you know, and they're giving us 5 shillings. That's why I like them.
And you said earlier that, the economy would collapse. Yeah, it will, maybe, for some time. But we are going to build up. We are ready to work hard for the country. We're not just going to sit behind and relax, leave nature take its own course.
Nakawuki, of course, took on a role beyond ministry to agitate for equity and resource distribution. He was a man of order, he liked peace and humanity, and today we corrected some of the reactions from the people who were there at the time, and then also people who have heard about his good service.
That hated corruption, discrimination, and torturing people in working communities, most especially being arrested innocently.
There was change back then, but now people work only to support themselves without thinking of others.
And we think about a great man, a religious leader, who stood and told the leading president then, the president of the country then, that actually this is not right. You shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be killing people. You should do what is right. We should have democracy. We can't see injustices and we keep quiet. I think that should be the trend. That should be the trend today, whereby religious leaders come out and condemn what's wrong. Because we already have someone who passed, but he stood for what is right.
Of course, to commemorate this day, His Excellency, with other church leaders, has pledged on development of a St. Nakawuki Memorial Grounds into a pilgrimage site like what he did in Mugongo. He also pledged to clear the church debt, and we do know that it was in honor of the late Archbishop Nakawuki.
First of all, we avenged the death of these people, and I'm very proud to be part of that group that avenged the death of all these people who died for no good reason.
Mie yom chini gin bene gichulu ko pijo eni magin guto egin. Dok eni bedo ngarachiel motimo ologi mo meneno neni remo yeno muchwene gichulu waya.
Because God supported us.
And
we defeated all these killers. That's why we are here now. Remembering
where we were poor,
and I want to salute all people who contributed to the fight for the freedom of Uganda. So, our being here should show people that evil does not pay. That straightforwardness pays. That's why we are here. Therefore, I thank all the pilgrims who come, because by so doing they are actually continuing to educate us.
Of course, we do hope that the souls of those that lost their lives while fighting for injustices and peace, that is the Archbishop Janan Ruum and the prominent people like His Excellency mentioned that fought during that time and lost their lives in that cause, will continue to rest in peace. Now, moving on, let's have a look at what made the news today. Now, Ugandans spend roughly $1 billion per year on steel imports. With a total import bill of $10 billion, local businesses want government to unify mineral beneficiation, particularly for iron ore, in order to save a significant percentage of the import duty with just one item. What remains to be seen is whether the manufacturers are prepared enough for the regulatory framework as the new mining bill of 2022 rapidly takes shape. As Uganda prepares to drill its first oil in 2025, little to nothing is said intentionally or unintentionally about natural resources of equal and greater importance such as iron ore. According to a government geological assessment completed between 2014 and 15, the Uganda Investment Authority estimates total deposits of the rock at 500 million tons, with 200 million tons of those confirmed in the Kigezi region alone. With a boom in property market together with increased demand for steel, cars and appliances, the demand for iron ore is only bound to increase. As a result, the reserves in Uganda, which total 500 million tons, are grossly valued at approximately $52.7 billion at the current selling price of $105.42 billion. Also, according to current market value, the mineral deposits in the Kabale district are valued at over $7.7 billion in Buhara, Katuna, Chikumbi, Karukara, Katuna, Kamuterere, Buruhita, Mwiguru, and other areas in the region. Manufacturers therefore want the government to be more deliberate about mineral beneficiation.
Iron ore is a very strategic imperative for Uganda. And where we stand, we think that it is about time to come up with a consortium guided by the PPP law and policy, because the legal regime now allows. So our conversation is in the direction of interfacing with your ministry to actualize that. There's been a lot of talking about mineral beneficiation in the past. We would want to see building blocks really built by both parties.
Companies like Tembo Steels, who are already engaged in iron ore beneficiation, attest to Uganda's iron ore being mined within the right regulatory framework.
Our own iron ore from Kabale to Spanjaran. So 100,000 tons facility is still there in Niganga, is running. And we are also putting up 300,000 tons plant of DRI. The civil work has already started, so which means that the scrap, as far as input is concerned, Tembo is very much into that the limited quantities of scrap will be consumed and the balance will come from Kabale iron ore.
UMA chairperson echoes his counterpart's sentiment that investors are eager to invest and are simply waiting for government to establish an enabling environment.
Local companies are already using iron ore, and many companies have been investing and at some level of investment in the beneficiary. You had one of the proprietors of Tembo telling you that you're already doing 100,000 metric tons per annum of iron ore into sponge iron, and they're investing a further 300,000. Other companies like Roofing, Steel and Tube, Great Lakes region are already in this space. What we are asking government is to provide the environment for us to play. This is a capital-intensive investment, so we want long-term policy space for us to plan.
The Mining and Minerals Bill passed last year aims to abolish the Mining Act of 2003, streamline industry operations, provide a transparent and accountable licensing framework, encourage in-country value addition, and improve management of mineral earnings. For these reasons, the minister recently made a comment regarding the transparency of mineral wealth.
Of minerals ranging from gold, uranium, iron, cobalt, lithium, mention it, including, marble. We also have granite. We have all this. Now, when you ask how much do we have, I may not be able to quantify it now, but I can give you where they occur. There is no secret about it. It is available. We have even put it on the web. Whoever wants to know what mineral occurs where, you can go to the cadastral map and you'll be able to know what mineral your house is seated on.
Nonetheless, in handling iron ore, Uganda can imitate the government of Botswana under Celeste Kama that renegotiated the diamond mining agreement to guarantee itself the lion's share, that is 50% of diamond's revenue, like it did with the Tembo Steels plant in Iganga. Now, away from that, the Uganda National Chamber of Commerce and Commonwealth have met to discuss difficulties in the private sector and how they might benefit from various programs. One of the key topics covered is how to integrate private sector in a range of opportunities inside Commonwealth countries by gaining to the continental free trade zone. The Uganda business landscape is very dynamic with different players from sectors as diverse as agriculture and digital services extending from small to medium enterprises. With over 10,000 members from the chamber, there is a transformational change in the economy which has affected the business community, which calls for the chamber to weave these headwinds as a strategy according to the National Development Plan, as well as attracting investments, since sectors have been hit so hard by the pandemic.
We have members like Uganda Chamber of Commerce Industry who are business people. So the idea is to open that market within that business council. And yes, the president is right, and you're also right that we should actually attract foreign investment in our country to create jobs. You must have seen what happened to all of us here during COVID. Because we rely on imports, a lot of things go stuck. So we are really working very hard as a chamber, in collaboration with the government, our partners world over, in making sure that we attract investment in this country.
Regarding the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, they further indicate that it is a process for the Ugandan enterprises to join the international market, and this is being worked upon by government. Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania and Ghana are among the countries in Africa that have begun trading products under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area as part of the fresh effort to begin intra-African trade. As a result, Uganda's entry into the market will guarantee the fair participation of vulnerable groups like women, while also giving companies the chance to promote their goods and services in markets outside of Uganda.
Now is the time to open the floodgates. The world is getting smaller. The African Free Trade Agreement, which is one of the most amazing agreements that's ever taken place, for two reasons. One, getting 30 or 40 African countries to subscribe to the same agreement, no mean achievement, but the speed with which it's done shows that the endeavour to create trade and create Africa as this incredible powerhouse that it deserves to be is a remarkable achievement.
Well, it is a process. Country Uganda is working with the strategy, but as you might have seen the press, that the Chamber of Commerce Industry working doing DP is working, has been actually holding forums with business people to synthesize the opportunities within the African continent. I don't know if you follow, but we are working, and Uganda government as a country is going to have the strategy soon, but we are yes working.
According to the Minister of Trade, Honorable Francis Mwebesa, there is a guarantee of Ugandan products on the market, particularly with coffee and tea as the primary Ugandan products. He applauded the government for giving the private sector a priority and for creating an environment with the right physical, monetary and regulatory conditions for private sector investment.
There is an assurance of every market of Ugandan goods produced. The only thing, we don't have enough to satisfy the market that is required by some of our products. But we have a reasonable amount of coffee, tea. Those are the main products that Uganda has that you can talk for, and which have a market everywhere in the world. Anybody wants coffee from Uganda.
Such stakeholder engagements are of importance because they help Ugandan private sector to know and take advantage of opportunities on the market. For instance, the annual food imports bill of $35 billion in the sub-Saharan region provides a ready export market for Uganda, particularly on the back of the ratification of Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Naomi Mtumba, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Now, away from trade, let's look at accountability deficits. The Amulata District Solar Irrigation Scheme project, which will serve only 12 acres and help 30 farmers in a community of more than 150,000 people, has raised concerns among members of parliament about the Ministry of Water and the Environment claims on the money value spent on the project. Let's have a look.
Smart 24, driving business.
Say goodbye to paperwork and travel costs. Now every MTN customer can register to invest in securities anytime and anywhere with Zabu in a few simple steps. Step 1. Dial *292#. Step 2. Select option 1. Register with Zabu. Step 3. Enter your full names. Step 4. Enter your national identification number. Step 5. Enter your national identification card number. In 24 hours, you will receive an SMS confirming your registration. Congratulations, you are now ready to invest.
The taste of Uganda in a new international park.
He must be rich, tall, handsome, from a respectable family. He must have a maid because at our home, we do not work.
Conductor Masao.
Owa, obadde olobye ku ssimu?
Yamunange, anti yo TV enkolera.
Nyumirwa omulembe omupya ogujjudde ebisanyusa omuli emikutu gya TV egisukka mu 8 n'egya radio nga kw'otadde ne zifirimu ng'osinziirira wonna w'oli. Genda mu App Store oteeke app ya GOTV channels ku ssimu yo olwo onyumirwe ennaku 3 ng'olabira bwereere ewatali kukozesa data.
GOTV channels.
It's super fast internet. Oh, it's a super camera. It's a super battery.
Phone battery full.
Yeah, it's a super deal. Get the Kabode Super from MTN now at a reduced initial deposit of only 49,000 shillings and pay the balance in Pola for as low as 833 shillings per day. Grab this Super Kabode deal this Christmas and get 2 GB of free MTN data every month for 8 months. Get the Kabode Super now from any MTN shop countrywide. Everywhere you go, MTN.
Regulated by UCC.
What if you could boost your most loved entertainment?
We're up in the ante.
Upgrade your DSTV package and we'll boost you to the next higher package at no extra cost. If you're on Access and step up to Family, you get boosted to Compact.
You know what I mean.
If you're on Family, step up to Compact and we'll boost you to Compact Plus.
That's an absolute ripper.
And if you're on Compact, step up to Compact Plus. You'll get boosted to Premium.
It's gonna be lit.
Step up and we'll boost you even higher at no extra charge with DSTV.
Luxury redefined at Seasand Hotel as you indulge in the splendor of elegant living fit for the royalty that you are. Step into comfort, pampering and blissful customer-centric service as you select from our range of comfy, exquisite living quarters furnished to meet with your royal preference. Surrounded by scenic beauty, our tropical setting allows you to escape the glamorous ordeal of city life. Our ambient green gardens will guide you to a place of revitalizing rest. The 3-star restaurant caters to your palate, serving your choice menu ranging from exotic cuisines to local delicacies. Our chefs will serve you full-course meals for a truly out-of-this-world culinary experience. Our fully stocked bar to whet your throat, from renowned global brand whisks, brandies, gins, beers and wines to our locally celebrated beverages, you will not lack for any brewage. It's an all-new experience in the East at Seasand Hotel. So visit today at plot 15 to 19 Spire Road, Ginger, or contact us on +256 751 719 960 and +256 785 354 614 for reservations. Seasand Hotels, luxury redefined.
Smart 24, driving business.
We apologize for that mishap and would like to move on with our bulletin now. From the National Land Policy of 2013, Uganda sets the legal framework on the distribution, utilization, and the role of land as a key factor for development. Currently, the big chunks of idle land in Kampala and beyond have turned into a missed opportunity for growth of commercial, residential, and industrial enterprises in the face of industrialization. Let's have a look.
As Uganda aims at attaining middle income status on the basis of full utilization of resources, one of the key production factors, land, remains a constant. Land utilization in urban and peri-urban areas has over become a concern in light of urbanization, population growth and utilization policy. However, urbanization has been checked partly because of underutilization of land resources in cities and towns, a response to numerous factors among which idle land and speculation counts. In regard to land speculation, individuals and companies have resorted to capital gains investment, buying land and reserving it for future sale at lucrative prices, ultimately locking up valuable land that would have been used for development.
All land that is in the city should be developed. And if you want an organized environment in a city, people who keep land for a long time that are not developing it should either have a plan for it and should have timelines for it, or else should be able to sell it to someone who is able to develop it. Otherwise, what you get is a confused city, whereby you have pieces of land empty, others are built, others are not. So when we are looking at organized environment, smart cities, nice environment of living in, actually even helping to stop insecurity within some locations which are populated.
Idle land has had a significant impact on urbanization and development, barely subjected to property tax and thus a potential source of lost revenue. As of 2018, Kampala's unimproved land amounted to about 10%, translating into about 1.8 billion shillings, figures that have changed over time with the fast growth trend of industrialization and settlement. With so many factors influencing land acquisition and business models, many stakeholders feel different about the trend.
Others have bought these pieces of land as an investment. And if they are going to sell, then the government is going to get value when the people have to transfer this land, and there is a tax already on that. So if it is a business, land for business, then the government is assured of taxes when they are transacting transfer forms.
And you know that if you look at our country and the future, those who own land will be the ones who determine. They will be the property masters. They will be the people who decide for these countries.
Despite several attempts to address this trend, among which taxation of unused land was considered, no definitive solution has been achieved since many factors underline the various causes of failed utilization.
So if you have a piece of land and the people are there, either it can be turned into a washing bay, it can be turned into a small park where people can rest, it can be turned into a place where people can do events in terms of weddings or gardens or anything. Land is always possible to use, as long as within that area there is enough population that actually can take the services that are offered in that land. Now, what we see most of the time is people want to do the big things. So you have a piece of land in a good location, but you're waiting to put that huge commercial building of 20-story building at that point. But you don't, in the meantime, use that land for any purpose. In my view, if you have a piece of land that is within a location, that where people can actually use it for any purpose, in the meantime, instead of leaving it completely empty, let there be an economic activity that actually brings some cash flow.
Despite the push for taxation of vacant land as a measure to speed up utilization in cities, budding with urbanization and industrialization, there is still latency on that, basing on factors such as ownership, property rating, among others. Bronya Katsime, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Moving on, a group of legislators has urged the government to abandon the State House scholarship program in favor for a district quota system. This is in order to ensure equality in distributing these scholarships, as some believe that gifted and disadvantaged children attending rural schools should get the scholarships and government funding.
While appearing before the Education Committee last month, the MPs tasked the Education Minister, Jesse Muyingo, to move funds for all government scholarships to Student Loan Scheme under the Higher Education Financing Board for equal access by all students. According to legislators, for equitable distribution of scholarships, government needs to first do away with the State House scholarship program because it only benefits a few Ugandans.
State House scholarship needs to be abolished and all scholarship be put in one basket. Yes, it must be abolished because that creates inequality. Who can access State House? we need to have all this money put in the National Scholarship Fund, which is managed by Ministry of Education. We only have one government. We do not have 2, 3, 4 government. Why should you have a state scholarship in a state house? Then you have another scholarship, Ministry of Education, all scholarship, and yet Ministry of Education is even headed by the wife of the president. So, does it mean that President Museveni does not trust the Minister of Education, who happens to be his wife? We need State House scholarship to be abolished yesterday.
And I really feel instead of keeping the State House scholarship running, it's better when it is cropped off so that they transfer it to a district quota system, whereby each and every district would benefit equally. There it will empower the students from all the districts across the country.
The legislators say these scholarships, as well as government sponsorship, oftentimes go to the students from performing schools, yet these are expensive schools, meaning that the students are from well-off families.
We find that the best performing schools are those schools that require money. So for you able to have enough money to go to these expensive schools, then you are already one of the well-to-dos. Long ago, we would get people excelling from our own rural schools, and they would be awarded bursaries and scholarships.
Dr. Otala adds that the sponsorships should be given to those students who have fairly performed from rural schools.
But the person who got 32 from an up-country school should be the rightful person to get a scholarship and not someone who was spoon-fed. So, what am I talking about? That we need to revisit the way our scholarships are awarded to go to the bright but poor. In that way, we would be emancipating our bright people in the countryside, but also doing justice.
They have also warned government that until the president meets the industry participants and finds a common ground, nothing productive will result in the matter of controlling school fees. This is because 80% of the schools are owned by officials of the Education Ministry.
That is the problem. And I'm telling you, we are not going to succeed in the discussion and lowering down the school fees in private schools. That will never, even if Parliament do what, we are not going to succeed. The best we should do is to call about those people. Let the president himself, being the appointing authority, call those who are owning the schools within the Ministry of Education, within the cabinet, even we, some of us members of Parliament, discuss with us and we agree together to lower the school fees. Source of that, we are not going to succeed.
As we speak, government has not yet come up with a clear report on regulating school fees in the country. Samlanifa, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
President Museveni's stance on who will benefit from the minimum wage bill states that it will harm investors. Therefore, today in our coffee court, we urge you, who gains the most? Is it the employer or the employee? Fred Makubia with the coffee court.
Well, it is a pleasure and thank you for joining us on the Coffee Court. This is where we ask the critical questions, especially questions that matter. The discussion regarding matters of the minimum wage bill definitely continues to be matters of discussion. I remember when the president attended the symposium for the late Professor Emmanuel Mutabiri, one of the things he did say that the professor advised him was not to append a signature on the minimum wage bill because this would actually threaten investors. Would this be the fact, but how best can we deal with the issues of the minimum wage bill? Can it be a solution to managing problems in this country? That and more to bring us to speed is a lecturer from Makerere, Mr. Sempala Richard. Mr. Sempala, thank you for joining us.
Well, it's a pleasure to speak to you, Smart 24 TV. Richard Sempara, a lecturer here at Makerere School of Economics. Yeah, it's really a pleasure to speak to the issues that matter and moreover that are concerning our economy.
Okay. Straight away we talk about a minimum wage bill. From the economic perspective, what is it?
Well, a minimum wage is that acceptable rate that a worker is given the productivity at workplace. So we are saying that it's minimum because acceptable between the employer and employee, at least to meet the employee's basic needs, as well as to ensure that the employer also break even in terms of earning profits. We know that employers in most cases establish firms with objectives, and one of the objectives of the firms are to maximize profits. Okay. So labor is one of the elements or the factors of production that they use to come up with the outputs that they sell out to customers. Okay. So in that, labor becomes one of the elements or the inputs, and the cost for labor is a wage. Okay. Workers are paid wage to compensate for their time.
The president, up to right now, Parliament did its part through the workers' MP. Up now, the president has not assented to the minimum wage bill. He was advised that this would actually threaten investors in this country. That is the president's take. From the economic perspective, do you think this will actually be a threat to the investors in this country?
Well, setting a minimum wage is critical, and I think the president has a point, because Uganda, we are at a stage of, we are a low developing country, and we are at a stage where we want to have more investors coming to the country. As I noted earlier, that wage is a cost that is paid to workers in compensation of their skills, their time, and everything they contribute to a company or a firm. So in this, I think the president is just worried that in case the wage is set at a high bar. I remember in one of the proposals that the committee was proposing about 130,000 shillings as a monthly minimum wage for workers. So we have seen countries that have minimum wage and they are really doing well. So it's a question of bargaining. What is our bargaining power as the country? So where we have, say for example, strong institutions in terms of labor unions, or even our policymakers or technocrats who can bargain well with the so-called investors, then we can have a good wage or a good rate that can benefit our employers, so the employees as well as the employers. So in this, it is a question of facts and what we want. So we see that we are attracting investors, but also we need to take care of the welfare of our workers, right? So as a government, I think we might need to look at those two angles.
Some economists actually reason it that when you set a minimum wage bill, it would actually be an indicator that you are actually valuing laborers in your country.
Yeah, sure. A minimum wage, it is, as I indicated, it's a cost. It's a cost, or it's the value attached to a laborer. But here, in most cases, we consider the issue of labor productivity. Labor productivity, that is the marginal benefit an employer, so the employer get from the input or the skills an employer brings, so that the employee brings to the industry. So where the marginal productivity is low, then that calls for a low wage. But where the marginal productivity is high, then that person is ought to have to be paid a higher rate. So in most cases where a minimum wage is above the equilibrium, I'll use the equilibrium, then that can scare away investors because the cost of production in your country becomes high. So in that, the investors we are talking about, they might look at the alternative. But in this, we can also have to look at how we call it the supply elasticity of labor in the country. So there are sectors where you have a few workers, right, who are skilled and have all the qualifications to do the job.
Like which sectors? So where we have actually few workers?
Yeah, sure. In this, we speak to sectors, for example, that takes a lot of time or that needs a lot of training time to have this person to be fit to do the work. For example, take for example in terms of health workers or even the experts with a lot of experience. So it takes a number of years to train such people. So in that, where the labor supply is inelastic, then it calls for a higher wage that can even go beyond the minimum wage we are talking about, because you might not have alternative at the time. So at least here I think we might need to just speak to the welfare of our people. So in case this wage is set, I know investors might really disagree, but we can also look at the macro elements that come with people having money. So in that, they can really do demand commodities, and in such aggregate demand increases. And when aggregate demand increases in the economy, then it implies that producers will have demand for their produce, and even the government can earn a lot of taxes from these who are really earning monies.
But some countries which actually may be not doing better than we are as a country have already appended a signature on issues of the minimum wage. Kenya has done so as an example among the countries that are in the East African community, and yet we seem to be doing better than them. They've already appended a signature on it.
I think here we have delayed, but it's really necessary, at least for people to have a minimum at which they can really offer their services to employees or companies. Yeah, because you look at the welfare of people. So in most cases, the issues sometimes we see related to corruption and or mismanagement comes with when people are not contented with what they get. Right?
Can we ever have contentment anyway?
Yeah, sure. You know, sometimes people's demands are endless, and sometimes the more people receive money, the more they even need it more. So in that, the minimum wage is good because it adds value to the labor, and in such people can be really willing to offer their support or even abilities to work even beyond the required time to see that really they also maximize the benefits from work.
Okay. So between the two, who benefits? We have the employer and the employee. If we have this in place, who benefits? Who loses anyway?
Yeah, so it's really a two-way. Yeah, so a minimum would be benefiting both. So we put it at that level, equilibrium, where the employer will not say that it's a lot, and even where the employee might not say it is little or to meet his or her needs. But where we don't have the minimum wage, I would recommend that employers can look at other avenues, motivate workers. You can give them allowances, could be in terms of fuel, in terms of medical services, and many others. So in that, the employees can be motivated even to perform where there is no minimum wage.
Okay. And of course, if you're talking about the minimum wage, we have also what we call the living wage, which many of us actually, would we look at the two, both the minimum and then the living wage?
Yeah, well, the minimum and living wage all depends on the context and even the cost of living within an economy. So in a country, so workers are always motivated to work where they can really break even at least they can meet their basic needs. So anything that is below that, then workers in most cases might not even be willing to give their labor, to give out their labor to employees. So it would be better, then always the living is below the minimum wage.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
And so if we are talking about, what are some of the other areas that maybe workers would focus on other than wage as a means of probably motivating them?
Yeah, sure. I've already spoke to that where we don't have a minimum wage, employers should look at other avenues to motivate workers, because we know for the employer to get this profit we are talking about, you need workers, right, and health workers. So you might also look at other avenues. For example, do you really give ample time for workers to really to build on their capacities, right? So another one could be on medical insurance or medical, so that really can motivate workers to perform even beyond the expectations. But also, even employees might want also to address some of the issues, right? We have seen that instances where the marginal productivity of employees is low. So in that might not motivate the employees to even give other benefits that might come from working. So in that, we are looking at workers who really show that they can really perform better. Currently, we have seen ministries, even the government is now implementing result-based financing or performance-based financing. Okay. So for a person, you are paid according to deliverables, so always set action points and then plans indicating the outputs a worker, so the employer might really look out for at a given point in time. So with that, then workers will really perform well. We have seen that implemented within health health facilities and then other government bodies. So where workers are paid according to the performance. Okay. You indicate the performance at the start of your employment, and the moment you reach those targets, then you are paid accordingly.
So reading the economic circumstances and situation, if this is appended a signature on, given the current circumstance, where does this leave us as a country? Mr. Sempala.
Yeah, currently I know that the government, or even us, we are worried about the employment. Jobs within the economy, jobs are still low compared to the number of people we have, right? So given the current situation, I think it would be great, even would hope citizens, those who are working, really to break even, or to really to meet their basic needs. But also we might need to look at the rate at which we add on more people looking for jobs. If the rate is very high compared to the rate at which jobs are created, then that worries a lot. Yeah, if we look at, for example, our population growing at about 3.2%, so it means that every year we add about 3.2 people, and majority of them, for example, are below the age of 18, and then that really is a cost even to those few who are working. So in that, it might require that those who are working to earn a given amount or amount of money, so that they can really cater for the dependents. Okay. Because really we have a lot of dependents who are below 18 years.
Do we have other countries in Africa that you think this minimum wage bill is actually applying?
Yeah, sure. In Kenya, they have the minimum wage bill, and that is categorized depending on different levels and skills. Drivers, those who are working in garden, and so many. So they have different rates to different cadres, and I think it's working. Yeah, so minimum wage is also good. That really hopes. I think the issue could be on boosting people's demand. Where people really have money, so they can demand more of commodities.
Okay.
And these commodities are produced by producers. So in that generally increases the monies in the economy, even the revenues the country can really tap from the consumption.
Okay. Because what is it that the president, in my view, is not seeing? The workers say it is a good proposal. The economists are saying it's a good proposal. The former governor of Bank of Uganda says it may not be an appropriate proposal. The president is saying, hold on, it may not be a good proposal. So who is not seeing rightly the other?
Yeah, I think currently we are trying to concentrate more on creating jobs. And who are these guys creating jobs? We are currently targeting investors. That the moment we have these guys coming, so they can bring their monies here, create, for example, establish factories, which factories can now employ more of our unemployed people, right? So I think the president is now looking more at having people getting jobs. And after that, so after establishing all these companies, factories, what, then we shall really have a number of them competing for workers. So in that, indirectly, then the laborers will be able to bargain more, because we shall have more companies demanding, for example, for few workers available, and in that, indirectly, that will have an impact on bargaining power of workers, which consequently can lead to a higher wage.
I've had an engagement with those in the labor export company. Some hold the view that there is high labor externalization simply because of lack of issues like the minimum wage bill. It is the reason partly young people are moving out of this country. Do you think so?
Really, I don't agree. I think currently the issue is about jobs. Jobs are scarce, right? So now people are trying to look at other avenues outside Uganda where they can really supply their labor, right? So in that, I think that's why the president is more concerned about setting this wage, because we are looking at attracting investors. Let them come, establish companies, and then after that, our laborers will be able to bargain for a higher pay, because there will be a lot of people demanding for their services.
Mr. Sempala, we must be winding up. Your parting shots on matters of minimum wage in this country.
Yeah, well, minimum wage globally is a good avenue for which I think in the long run the government need to consider, but also we might also need to look at the productivity of our people. I'm aware there are companies which pay highly beyond the expectation, because they really see that these people are delivering. So it is a concern of preparing our workers in terms of skills and capabilities to ensure that their marginal productivity is high to attract a given or a higher pay at that level.
Okay. Mr. Sempala, thank you for speaking to us, especially on matters regarding the minimum wage. For sure, I know that life is about perception. The president says this will chase away investors. The economists are saying it is a good thing. The politicians are saying the president should. The workers' MPs are saying the president actually is late. He should append a signature on it. What exactly needs to be done? The discussion continues. This is the Coffee Court, and my name is Fred Makubuya.
Of course, that conversation will usher us into the end of business today. But before we do that, let's have a look at what made the headlines.
Tonight, in Business Today, investors eager to invest in the iron ore beneficiation and are simply waiting for the government. And also, buying and reserving of land ultimately locks up investment in the urban areas. Meanwhile, MPs criticize the government on launching mega projects without proper planning.
That will lead us to the end of business today, and I would like to implore you to watch the rest of the updates, or if you missed any of the stories, you can catch up on Smart 24 TV live on YouTube, and then also follow up on our social media platforms and the like to be up to date in the business world. My name is Ronnah Nahabwe with Winnie Nakawuki and the sign language. As always, have a good night.